guys, we're going to find out why Brits think American Christianity is weird. I'm getting this one from Girl Gone London, link in the description below. Go over and show her some love. So this one caught my eye and I'm like, ooh, I'm here for this. I want to see why Brits think that American Christianity is weird. All right? Hi everyone, hope you guys are doing okay. Your girl is back like a snack attack. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Welcome, welcome one and all. Let's get into this video because this one, I'm intrigued. Here goes.
From Hummin' for Jesus bumper stickers to Honk for Jesus displays,
Oh, yeah.
from mega churches that hold hundreds of thousands to shirts that say Jesus was the greatest American who ever lived, which is extremely historically inaccurate, but there we are. Religion shows up in America in a bold, overpowering, and very open sort of way.
Yep.
It's a religious culture that, especially if you're from Europe, has to be seen and experienced to be believed.
Oh, yeah.
And in this video, I'm also going to explain to those of you who have never seen a giant Jesus Christmas inflatable before how the expression of religion in the US differs from that in the UK. I also wondered, how do two countries that share so much history end up with such wildly different relationships when it comes to religion?
Yep.
Because if you took those Jesus bumper stickers to the UK, you'd really stand out. Even in a full church parking lot, you'd probably be the only one.
People be looking at you like you're cuckoo. Because when she said it, I'm like, yeah, she's right. It's like you guys are on two different spectrum when it comes on to Christianity. That is so true. So, like, for someone coming to the US and attending church, or a Christian coming from the UK to attend church here in the US, they'll be like, oh my word, when they walk in and see a congregation, how huge it is. And it depends on the kind of church that you're going, and it depends on the kind of Christian. Because to me, here in America, Christianity has different levels. It's not the same across the board. It's not equal across the board. Jeez, your ways. And it's surprising. Well, I can't say it's surprising because I can understand why America look the way it does, because remember, a lot of people left the UK in order to come to the US back in the days when they were running away from, the church, and they wanted to practice their own. So I know that much. But let me stop yapping and let's continue.
Talk statistics for a second before we get into the history, because in America, about 70% of people identify as Christian, and roughly 40% say they attend a religious service weekly. Over in the UK, only about 38% call themselves Christian, and weekly church attendance hovers around 5%. 5%. That means if you randomly picked 20 Brits off the street, statistically, only one of them went to church last Sunday. In America, that number would be around 8 people. But it's not just about numbers. It's about how comfortable people are talking about it. In America, politicians very readily mention God in their speeches. God Bless America isn't just a song. It's basically how every political address ends. Presidential candidates get asked about their faith like it's a job qualification, and it kind of is. Meanwhile, in Britain, the current prime minister identifies as an atheist, though he says he believes in faith and supports its role in the community. And that sums up the British approach, that a non-religious man could be leader of the government with no qualms. Because he's there to do a political job. Whether or not you agree with his politics, I've yet to see anyone being upset with him due to his lack of religious views.
And I can understand that, because he's there to do something else. So that his religious belief shouldn't have anything to do with how he's leaning, because it makes sense. It's two different things. When you look at it, a man can be religious and he's still wicked. A man can be religious and he's good. But that doesn't mean that he won't represent the need of the people. You understand what I'm saying? I think you guys get what I'm saying here. But when it comes to politics and religion here in America, it's on a total different level. And I think majority of the time why they do it is because it feeds into the masses. Because some of them throw in this, God bless this, God bless, they don't even mean it.
Someone openly declaring themselves as an atheist and being elected president in the USA seems even more out of reach than a woman becoming president. And to understand how we got here, we need to go back to the beginning, because America was literally founded by people running away from Britain so they could practice their religion more zealously than was accepted back home.
I said that earlier.
The Pilgrims didn't hop on the Mayflower because they heard Massachusetts had great seafood. They came because they wanted freedom to worship in a way that wasn't accepted in Britain.
Yeah.
As Robin Williams once said, the Puritans were people so uptight, the English kicked them out. This created what scholars call American civil religion, the idea that the country itself has a divine mission. It's why American money says, "In God we trust," and why the Pledge of Allegiance mentions one nation under God.
Yeah.
The founding fathers might have wanted separation of church and state, but they definitely didn't want separation of God and country. Benjamin Franklin, who wasn't exactly known for his religious beliefs, still said that God governs the affairs of men. Even the least religious founders thought divine providence was guiding the American experiment. Britain, meanwhile, took a completely different path. They had their established Church of England in England, sure, but it was more like a government department than a spiritual movement. It's religion as bureaucracy, faith as civil service. And when you make religion official and institutional, something kind of opposite happens. People start treating it like any other government function, and it almost loses its intensity. And then you have the Reformation. England got Henry VIII, who basically created his own church because he wanted a divorce. That's not exactly the foundation of deep spiritual conviction. And America got wave after wave of religious revivals, starting with the Great Awakening in the 1740s, when preachers like Jonathan Edwards were scaring people into salvation with sermons about sinners in the hands of an angry God. These weren't polite Anglican services. These were emotional, transformative experiences that left lasting marks on American culture. And this—
I don't get it. Why you instilling fear into people about a loving God? You say God is loving, but yet still you're instilling so much fear that's going to happen to people if you don't. That I can't wrap my head around. I really can't. But she is so spot on. America, there was supposed to so-called be a separation of church and but that's not the case, because she's right. In God we trust. And when you look around,
it shows up today in kind of interesting ways. American Christians often wear their faith literally. Christian t-shirts, fish symbols on cars, WWJD bracelets, which is what would Jesus do if you're not familiar. In Britain, displaying your religion publicly is considered a bit like displaying your income or your medical history. It's personal information that polite people don't broadcast. Even practicing Christians in the UK tend to be more private about it. And then you have the prosperity gospel, which teaches that God wants faithful people to be wealthy and healthy, and this has absolutely exploded in America. Megachurch pastors fly around in private jets, and congregants are told that their donation is basically a divine investment portfolio. This theology has made some inroads in the UK through churches like Hillsong and other Pentecostal movements, but it runs up against centuries of British skepticism about mixing money with spirituality.
Sorry, guys. I know this one was going to get me, because guess what? This is one of them that I cannot wrap my mind around. You have people giving their all and their last to people flying around in jets, living in mansions, driving the latest car, buying the most expensive. And I'm like, that's what Christianity is? That's what the church supposed to be? That don't make no sense. And I'm like, I don't understand why so many people are so brainwashed in believing that it is okay. I cannot get it. Common sense tell you that, oh, this is what is supposed to happen. God want me to have it's like sheep, blind. You lead them off in the water, they're going in there to drown.
England has historically preached that suffering builds character, not that tithing builds bank accounts. Even the language is different. American Christians talk about having a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. British Christians, when they do talk about their faith, tend, as a vast generalization, to use more formal and traditional language. So they might say they attend church rather than they worship at this church, or that they believe rather than they've been saved. A lot of this stems from the evangelical flavor of Christianity that's popular in the USA. Evangelical Christianity is a type of Protestant Christian where one of the core tenets is the duty to evangelize or spread what they believe and actively convert other people. Nowhere is this divide more obvious than in politics, and boy, is it obvious.
Oh boy.
American political campaigns basically require candidates to perform their faith publicly. They need to talk about their home church, their favorite Bible verse, how their faith guides their decisions. Even candidates who aren't particularly religious know they need to at least pretend to be. I'm not pointing fingers, but there are a lot of American politicians in power who certainly don't seem to be following the rules of any Christian religion when it comes to empathy and loving others, but as long as they've said they're Christian, then people let it slide.
See, there you go. She is hitting the nail on the head. They do it because it gets the masses. It draws the masses in. They don't actually mean what they're saying. How they behave, child, this one right here, girl, she getting it right. When it come on to the politics here and Christianity here in the US, I am telling you, it's a bed up once.
Barack Obama, who considered himself a Protestant Christian by choice in adulthood, having not grown up in a religious household, still had to deal with theories about whether he was secretly Muslim, because that certainly wasn't going to slide.
Yep.
Even though the USA has no official religion and apparently has separation of church and state.
Exactly.
British politicians, meanwhile, actively avoid talking about God. When Gordon Brown was asked about his religious beliefs, he called it a private matter. When David Cameron mentioned his Christian faith, it was considered newsworthy, precisely because British politicians don't usually do that. The idea of a British candidate saying, "God told me to run for office," might be a political disaster, while in America, it's basically a standard campaign talking point.
Yep.
And this creates some fascinating contradictions. Like we've said, Britain has an official state religion, but its politicians act secular. America has official separation of church and state, but its politicians can't stop talking about religion. And when
child, she is painting it. Oh, yes. She is so right. And you know what? I like your guys' idea of it's personal. I don't need to tell you that. You don't have to know that, because this is not what I'm here for. I'm here to represent the people, to do good for my people. You understand what I mean? I can see it. That's none of your business. I can see it. Just like I don't need to tell you my salary. Just like that makes sense to me. I'm on board with that. I'm comfortable with that. To be honest with you, I am. Because a lot of these people who you see have on the bumper stickers is the meanest set of people you can ever deal with. Their faith, I don't know what they believe in or which God they say that they're serving and the way that they behave. Because listen, man, if you are a Christian or you're leading with that, then it should speak for itself for a believer. You understand what I mean? It should. The way you carry yourself, the way you conduct yourself, who you associate with, it just oozes out of you if that's the case. But here, oh my word.
When it comes to politics, this largely influences America and Americans.
Yep.
For example, there are certain medical topics regarding women's rights that within the USA is fundamentally a religious issue. It's seen as that.
Yep.
Churches mobilize voters, and the entire conversation is framed around when life begins according to the interpretations of Christian doctrine. In Britain, when these topics come up, they're typically debated in medical and social terms. The same thing happens, in my opinion, regarding the term I talked about earlier, prosperity gospel. This is the idea that if you are rich, God has blessed you because he thought you essentially deserve it. You followed him enough to be rich. And people often wonder why Americans seem to worship companies and leaders more than the UK. It's because American ideals are based on this religious belief that those people are better people. They are more devoted. And if you aren't wealthy, or if you do need assistance from others, or you've fallen on hard times, then from a religious perspective, what's wrong with you? You must have done something wrong or been a morally corrupt person to end up in that situation. In a way, God has punished you. And
can you believe people believe that rubbish? But, and here's how common sense come into this. If that's the case for so many that say that they are Christians here in the United States, why are they suffering? Why they don't have anything? Why are they're trying to make ends meet? If they're so God-fearing and then you should be rich like those pastors, don't it? You should be flourishing with money too, don't it? It just, I don't get how people cannot see that. I can't.
We should too. Now here's where things get really nuanced, because Britain is full of what researchers call cultural Christians. People who don't really believe in God, but still consider themselves Christian in some sense. They might get married in churches, send their kids to Church of England schools, and celebrate Christmas as more than just a commercial holiday. It's Christianity as cultural identity rather than active faith. And this cultural Christianity shows up all across Britain. The British still love their ancient cathedrals, not necessarily because they're houses of worship, but because they're gorgeous historical monuments. Canterbury Cathedral gets over 1 million visitors a year, most of whom aren't there to pray. Americans tend to be more binary. You're either Christian or you're not. The idea of being culturally Christian, well, maybe personally atheist, doesn't translate as well. British Christmas perfectly captures this cultural Christianity. It's absolutely massive in the UK, but it's largely secular. British Christmas is about family gatherings, elaborate meals, pulling crackers, and watching the King's speech. Sure, Jesus shows up in nativity plays and Christmas carols, but he's not the main event for most. American Christmas, even in non-religious families, tends to maintain much more explicit Christian elements.
Yes. Call me weird, but I am bored with... I am bored. I am on board with... Because for me, when it comes to Christmas time, you understand? It's about spending time with family, relaxing, laughing. That's how I grew up. Period. You know, it's the occasion is all about spending time, reminiscing, just having fun, seeing people you haven't seen in a long time, relaxing. Because, you know, because of how it is, a lot of people get time off from work. So for me, it's just stand to chill, eat food, have fun, see your family members, see friends that you haven't seen in a long time. And that's what it represents to me. You understand me? And I think people on a whole should see it more than just pretending that it represents something else to them, which it is not. Because when you stop to think about it, if it's in the heart of giving, the way how people go in debt when it comes on to Christmas time, not only that, people are not appreciative of what they receive here in the US. I've seen some things with my eyes here in the US when it comes on to gift and Christmas, and I'm like, are you for real? That's what it represented? That's why I, no. Nope.
England itself embodies this cultural approach.
Anglican
theology tends to be pretty flexible, and their sermons are more likely to reference social justice than their American counterparts, which I don't think is a bad thing. It's very personal, and it's not as evangelical. It's not about charismatic preachers standing in front of thousands with impassioned music behind them. It's about the local vicar named Steve who delivers a nice, if not a bit by-the-book sermon about a Bible story and praying for those in need. America, meanwhile, runs on religious revival cycles.
Yep.
Every few decades, American Christianity reinvents itself with a new movement that promises to return to authentic faith. The Great Awakening, the Second Great Awakening, because I guess the first one didn't work, the Pentecostal movement, the Jesus people of the 1960s, the contemporary worship movement of the 1990s. American Christianity is constantly being rebooted like a tech startup because it's what we do best. And this creates a religious marketplace that would honestly horrify most British Christians. American churches compete for congregants with contemporary music, coffee bars, laser light shows, and pastors who wear skinny jeans and quote Marvel movies in their sermons.
I wonder who's listening to this morning, because, like, seriously, skinny jeans, cut off jeans. Guys, don't come for me. It's my opinion. This is ridiculous. Ridiculous. And she's right. It revamps. It's like every year is a different kind. Oh, child. This is crazy. And if somebody, or for instance, talk to somebody else about this, they'll get mad. Oh, you're this, you're that. You don't get it. No, you don't make no sense. Because everybody, all of these pastors are tailoring it to please themselves, to inherit something. It's not about, okay, let's go back to the days when it was all about being good people and loving your neighbors and getting along. Oh no, that ain't it. Like I said, it's all about the money. That's how it is. And popularity. Or this rap gospel, or this look, the music, the shouting, I can't sit this and yeah, boy.
There are churches that meet in movie theaters, churches that specialize in motorcycle enthusiasts, churches that advertise their services on billboards.
Yep.
British churches, by contrast, tend to value tradition and continuity. A Church of England service today would be kind of recognizable to someone from hundreds of years ago. The Book of Common Prayer is still used in many parishes. The hymns are the same ones people have been singing for centuries, and the architecture deliberately connects worshipers to hundreds of years of Christian history.
Man.
This creates beautiful, moving worship services for many, but it doesn't necessarily attract crowds of young families looking for dynamic teaching and killer childcare.
Yep.
And I'll be honest with you, as someone who has been to church in both countries, American church services are far more interesting sometimes. They are. The laser light show, I didn't make it up. They keep your attention far better just because they're produced more like a rock concert. The pastor has got to be very good at public speaking to get the role, and often there is more budget to literally have professional musicians and those light shows. Yes. And that type of swell of music and emotion and charismatic preaching is meant to keep your attention. Remember the evangelical movement. It's all about converting you and others and spreading the religion.
Yep.
The Church of England services I've been to are nothing like this. They're much more subdued and, yes, maybe not as interesting from a performance standpoint, but actually the thing. Religion in the UK isn't meant to be a performance. And the education systems in both countries reveal these different approaches because in America, there are thousands of Christian schools. We also have homeschool curriculum that teach young earth creationism and ongoing battles over whether evolution can be taught in public schools. Faith-based education is seen as a legitimate alternative to secular public schooling, and many American Christians actively seek out educational environments that will reinforce these religious beliefs.
Yep.
Britain has plenty of faith schools too, but they operate differently. Church of England schools are often considered among the best state schools available, and plenty of non-religious parents try to get their kids admitted. These schools teach religion, but the goal is religious literacy, not necessarily religious conversion. And then we have the university experience, which differs dramatically too. American Christian colleges and universities are massive operations with their own accreditation, sports teams, and degree programs.
Yes, ma'am.
Liberty University has over 100,000 students. Oral Roberts University has a law school and a medical school. These aren't just Bible colleges.
Nope.
They're full universities that happen to require chapel attendance and have honor codes based on Christian morality.
Yep.
British universities, meanwhile, might have Christian societies, but the idea of a major university organized around Christian principles would seem crazy. Oxford and Cambridge, which were founded to train clergy, are now thoroughly secular institutions where religious studies is another academic department. And as I've mentioned, one of the most distinctly American religious phenomena is the prosperity gospel, and understanding British reactions to it really illuminates the cultural divide. American prosperity preachers like Joel Osteen, Joyce Meyer, and Kenneth Copeland teach that God wants faithful Christians to be wealthy, healthy, and successful.
High prosperity. Woo! Let's go back to the fact that America, because what I realize, yes, they're trying to cater to the mass, but at the same time, they're looking at it as, okay, how can we draw younger people in? Also, if we do this, if we have the lights, if we do the professional, if we have the certain kind of rhythm going, then that will just, because like you said, you want these people to come and to stay. So you're tailoring your church to grab the masses. All are welcome, but not necessarily all, because an older person couldn't appreciate their thinking, couldn't appreciate this kind of setting because it's so worldly in a sense, if you guys get where I'm going with this, which I'm like, okay, I can understand the hymns that you sung from decades on, and you know them by heart. You feel them in a certain way. They have more meaning to you that, this is a heavy one, and I know a lot of people don't want to hear this one because they are so wrapped up in. Now, you tell me, this madness right here. Yeah.
They encourage tithing as a form of spiritual investment, promising that God will return financial gifts with interest.
Yes.
This theology has found some foothold in Britain through churches like Hillsong, but it runs headfirst into centuries of British Christianity that views wealth with suspicion. The Church of England, as I've mentioned, has historically taught that suffering builds character and that the wealthy have moral obligations to the poor. British Christianity inherited a lot of medieval Catholic ideas about money being spiritually corrupting. When American prosperity preachers visit Britain, they often have to significantly tone down their message. What works in Houston megachurches, promises of financial breakthrough and material blessing, sounds almost blasphemous to British ears trained on hymns about taking up crosses and following Christ through valleys of suffering. And British Christians are not likely to see poverty as a sign of insufficient faith.
Look at that.
The class dynamics play into it as well, because American prosperity theology appeals across economic lines because it promises upward mobility through divine intervention. British Christianity, even in its most enthusiastic forms, can't quite escape the class system that sees flashy displays of wealth as rather vulgar. Even successful British Christians tend to practice what researchers call stealth wealth, having money but not flaunting it in ways that American prosperity preachers would consider normal expressions of God's blessing.
I'm on board with that 100%. Like I said before, you don't need to be flashy. You don't need to be doing all of that. Nobody don't even need to know that you have money. That's how I see it. Not to mention these, like earlier when she talked about these schools and these colleges and their accreditation, everything that you can think of, and putting all these people in debt as well. And look here, man, it's utter madness. That's how I see it. Utter madness. And within the UK, you can see the difference. Even though they're not Christians and they send their kids there, they can see the outcome. The reason for them is not. But here in the US, some of these kids that faith-based schools and colleges, they are worse off than.
They're not showing
they're
up
so rude and bad. Like,
American religious architecture reflects American optimism and innovation. The buildings say Christianity is relevant and contemporary and ready to meet you where you are. Please come join us. British religious architecture reflects British tradition. These buildings say Christianity has been here for 1,000 years and will be here for 1,000 more, whether you show up or not. The megachurch phenomenon is uniquely American for this reason. Churches with 10,000 plus members, and that's on the low end, professional quality production values, and campuses that genuinely rival shopping malls, they simply don't exist in Britain. The closest equivalent might be something like Holy Trinity Brompton in London, which has maybe 4,000 members and is considered absolutely massive by British standards.
Wow.
Got the celebrity pastor problem. American Christianity has created an entire ecosystem of celebrity pastors who write best-selling books, host television shows, and build personal brands that extend far beyond their local congregations. These pastors become household names, appear on talk shows, and influence national conversations about everything from politics to personal finance. And this starts to create further questions and moral dilemmas. Are you now in this role for the love of your religion and devotion to spreading the word,
Nope.
or do you just want a new mansion? Britain has well-known Christian leaders too, don't get me wrong, but they operate differently. Anglican bishops might write thoughtful books about theology or social justice, but they're not building media empires or developing signature catchphrases. The Archbishop of Canterbury is famous in the way that the Director General of the BBC is famous. People know the position exists and might recognize the current occupant, but it's not celebrity culture. And this difference reflects deeper cultural attitudes about authority and charisma. Americans are comfortable with dynamic religious leaders who promise to change their lives through powerful preaching and personal revelation. British religious culture is more skeptical of charismatic authority and more comfortable with institutional leadership that emphasizes careful thinking over emotional appeal. Looking ahead, both countries are dealing with declining religious participation, but they're responding differently. American Christianity is doubling down on distinctiveness, becoming more politically engaged, more culturally combative, and more insistent on its unique role in American life. The response to secularization is often to become more religious, not less. British Christianity is taking almost the opposite approach, becoming more inclusive, more socially progressive, and more willing to accommodate secular values. Both approaches have their challenges. American Christianity risks becoming so politically partisan that it alienates potential converts who don't share conservative political views. To be honest, it already has. This is one of those areas that many non-Americans don't understand when looking at American political decisions and votes. If religion is the most important thing in someone's life, and it is so mixed in with politics that voting for the other side would almost mean that you are going against your religion or defying God, would you do it? Most people wouldn't. And the fact of the matter is that, objectively, the Republican Party is seen as the Christian party by many people in the States. It's known as the Christian right. The evangelical population that make up a large part of the US also heavily lean towards the Republican Party when it comes to voting. When actually, if you zoom out, there are about equal percentages of religious Christians in both major parties. But it's become so intertwined that there's almost no untangling it from the Republican Party, and many wouldn't want to. But is this now adding up? Europeans often look across the pond to American politics and go, what? How? That person? This person? What's going on? But A, Americans are much more religious than other countries and will often not vote against their beliefs on very specific issues, even if they don't like the person in charge or other policies. And B, prosperity gospel tells us that wealthy people or people who claim to be wealthy are somehow more divinely gifted than us. And C, chanting, emotional swells of patriotic or religious music, and appeals to God work much better in the USA than in the UK, and some people take advantage of this to appeal to their base and gain political trust. What's clear is that these differences in the USA and UK religious culture run deep, and they show no signs of disappearing. They're rooted in different historical experiences, different cultural values, and different assumptions about the role of religion in public life. Understanding them helps explain not just why Americans and Brits approach faith differently, but why they approach community, authority, tradition, and politics differently too. Now that brings me to the end of this video. Hope you learned something new. As always, leave your comments below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Bye, Mama. Well, there you have it. There you have it. Do you agree with what she said? Oh, I sure do. You can see why Brits think American Christianity is weird. Because when you stop to think about it, it don't make no sense. It don't add up from the bumper stickers to the shirts, to the armbands, to the music, to the politics. Everything is intertwined. And I'm like, aren't there supposed to be a separation of church and state? Isn't there supposed to be? And I can understand what you see here is definitely not what you'll see in the UK. Because people are like, look here, this is a Hannah Baloo. This don't make no sense. How can people believe this? How can people believe that? How can people actually sit down and think this is okay? And you can see the cultural difference plays a part too as well. And I'm like, this one takes a lot. It's just crazy to me. Sometimes I sit down and I listen and I look and I'm like, do these people have a brain? Does that seem right to you? Does it seem okay? Do you think? Do you think? Do you think? Now somebody might come on here and say, Island, I don't like where you're going with this, that, and the third. That's okay. That's okay, because everybody has their own opinion, their own belief, or what they believe in and what they think certain things should be and should not. This is my opinion. To me, it is utter madness. And to me, I think people on a whole should pick sense out of nonsense and see that Christianity in America is on another level, from the school to the church to the politics, and it's like you can't tell a Christian different from another man outside when you're here in the US majority of the time. You cannot. The way that they behave, their lifestyle, you cannot. This, like the last one, should talk about those who think wealth, and I don't understand why some people would think that because they're wealthy Christian, they know more and they can give advice. Come on, man. Popularity is yeah. And when you look at the Brits and how they view Christianity, it kind of makes sense. You understand what I mean? It's more personal. It's none of your business. And it's more traditional sense, where you go, say you go in a synagogue, it's there. You go, you worship, you go home. It's how one live their life, how they deal with people, you know. Yeah. That's all I have to say. That's my 2 cents, and I'm out. It's your girl, and I'm running out of here. Just be good, be kind, love each other, try to get along with people. Come on, man. I tell you, this world would be a better place. Yeah. Love you guys to the max. Girl, she got this one. Girl gone on and had this one in the bag. Love you guys to the max. And I'll definitely catch you guys in another video. Oh, yeah, I will. Let me know your thoughts on this one in the comment section. I'll be in there to talk back and forth, have dialogue with you guys in the comment section. I'm here for this one. Bye.